The third door. Everyone in the village knew not to speak of the third door in the old Briar House. The Briar House had been abandoned for decades. Overgrown ivy snaked up its sides like the fingers of some forgotten creature, and the windows were boarded up as though the house itself was hiding from the world. But if you stood close enough, you could almost hear the faintest whispers on the wind, as if the house was whispering its secrets to the trees that surrounded it. The village, however, had no interest in these whispers. They knew better. The first door led to the basement, the one room that was the house's heartbeat. It creaked like something trying to scream. The villagers swore that no matter how many coats of paint you put on it, the door would always be stained with dark streaks, as though something, or someone, had tried to claw its way out. The second door opened into a long hallway. The hallways in the house were disorienting, always seeming longer than they should be, stretching far beyond the boundaries of the house. Some said it twisted and bent in places it shouldn't. You could never quite measure the distance, like time itself didn't apply. It was as if the house had its own rules, and the second door was the gateway to those rules. But the third door was bricked up from the inside. It had always been bricked up. For generations, the villagers had whispered about it. They said no one ever saw the door opened. They said that if anyone ever did, it would be the last thing they saw. But of course, such stories were chalked up to folklore, to the drunken rants of the old men at the tavern, to the bored teenagers daring each other on a dare to prove their bravery. No one took it seriously. That is, until Mara came into the picture. Mara inherited the Briar House from a great aunt she never met. The inheritance was sudden, unexpected, and wrapped in mystery. The great aunt had lived alone for years, the last known resident of Briar House, with only rumors about her eccentricities floating around the village. No one in the village had seen her in years. No one had even bothered to inquire about her. When Mara came to the house, she saw it for what it was, a place of mystery and curiosity. To her, it was just an old, decaying house that was left to her, one that could be sold off for a small fortune. The villagers' warnings seemed laughable to her. Folklore, ghost stories, bored teenagers trying to get attention. But despite herself, Mara couldn't deny the nagging curiosity that gnawed at her when she passed the bricked-up third door. At first, it was nothing but a creeping feeling, like the house was watching her. She heard noises, faint tapping from behind the walls. It happened every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., like clockwork. Always at 3:17, always 3 taps, followed by a dead silence that settled in her bones. Mara tried to ignore it at first, attributing it to old pipes or the house settling under the weight of time. But the tapping came every night, louder and more insistent, like someone or something was trying to communicate with her, trying to reach her. Then came the dreams. They began innocently enough, just fleeting moments of blackness. But soon they became more vivid, more persistent. In these dreams, Mara stood before the third door, and for the first time, it wasn't bricked up. It stood ajar, just slightly, like it was waiting for her. She could see nothing but swirling, inky blackness beyond it. It was as if something was breathing in that darkness, the air thick with the weight of it. Something waited. The dreams became more frequent, and soon she couldn't tell where the waking world ended and the dream world began. She started to stand in front of the door in the middle of the night, staring at it for hours, her hands itching with an unfamiliar, restless energy, her mind fixated on the door as if it was calling her. Then, one evening, she dreamt of hammers, of cracking brick, of prying open what had been sealed for so long. The urge was irresistible. Something deep inside her knew that if she could just get behind that door, everything would make sense. She began researching the house, diving into its history, trying to make sense of the legends. Her great-aunt's diary, found in the attic, gave her nothing but strange ramblings about the house's true nature and its invitation to the one who will open it. There were scribbles about doors, the third one in particular, and a warning in the margins. Do not open the door. It opens something more than you can handle. But Mara wasn't listening. She was already on the edge. One night, it happened. She woke up already standing before the third door, her hands stained with blood, bricks scattered at her feet like discarded rubble. The door, the third door, was open. Inside, there was a staircase. It spiraled downward, twisting in impossible angles like it was folding in on itself, deeper and deeper, forever lost to the darkness below. The air grew colder with each step, the walls tight around her, as if the house itself was trying to swallow her whole. The tapping grew louder the further she descended. No longer a soft tap, but claws scratching against wood, against stone. Something was waiting for her. It had been waiting, and now it was time. At the bottom of the stairs, she found a mirror, old and cracked, the edges flickering like a dying television screen. But there was something strange about it. It wasn't reflecting what was in front of it. It reflected something else, someone else. In the mirror there were three of her, one behind, one beside, and one grinning wickedly in front. The reflection smiled wider, its mouth stretching too far, its eyes hollow and empty. Mara tried to scream, tried to call out for help, but her mouth stayed shut. She couldn't make a sound. The reflection grinned at her, a cold, predatory smile, and opened its own mouth, and from that mouth a third hand reached out, gripping the edge of the mirror. That's when the lights upstairs went out. No one's seen Mara since that night. But if you go to the Briar House, you'll hear it. 3 taps. At exactly 3:17 a.m. And behind the third door, you might hear the voice whispering, faint and chilling, "We let her in. Now we want you."